Hello everyone, welcome again to our last and fourth session on our series of webinars about health and happiness at work. My name is Karina Garcia del Real. I am the Community Manager at Cadan Science Partner and I will be your host during this webinar. Cadan Science Partner deeply values community building and sharing knowledge within our community. So we have brought to you a series of 4 different webinars, all focused on the topic of happiness and health at work. Our first session was on mental health. During our second session, we cover change your mind. So how can you embrace the unknown and how can you adapt to certain situations that you might not foresee? In our third session, we discussed productivity. This was all about learning to share your team, what you already have, and how can you measure that productivity as well. If you want to watch the recordings of these webinars, you can always find them in our YouTube channel. We will also be sharing more content in our Cadan's community platform. You can find the recordings. You can engage in conversation with other members from our community about the topics that we just discussed. So for the first part of our program, we have our expert, Silva Vicino from WorkJoy. Sylvie has over 20 years of experience coaching professionals in from different backgrounds, from startups to entrepreneurs, large corporates. So we're really happy to have Sylvie here. For the second part of our program, we're going to have a guest speaker from our Cadan's community. Our guest speaker is going to join our session. She's going to tell us more about the topic of today, which is going to be on team building. And this topic is really important because we're actually going back to that unit that's, I believe, it's the most influential unit at work in terms of productivity and happiness. The people who surround you, the team that helps you advance your company, that helps you grow and challenge you as a professional. So it's a really interesting topic, and I'd like to welcome Sylvie now to come and join us.
Hey,
Sylvie,
Karina.
nice to see you again. This is our fourth and last webinar on now topics team building. So we've gone through 3 webinars already. All of them are tying very nicely together. The connections are really clear and easy. This webinar now is going to go into the team itself.
Yeah.
And why is that so important for a company to achieve their targets as well?
Well, it is like you say, a team, I think, is a very important part of being happy at work, because sometimes they say there is no I in team, but I don't believe in that. A team is full of individuals, and if we can make those individuals supporting each other and giving strength to each other, I think that we help the company increasing their level of productivity, but also indeed employees' satisfaction and happiness at work. So it's a very important topic, and I'm happy to be here again.
Yes, me too. I'll let you take over the presentation, and I'll come back for the second part of our program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Indeed, a 4th webinar on team building, the last of the sessions. It was a whole program, 4 webinars, and today we're going to talk about team building and why is that so important. So today on the agenda, team building, why? What about the dynamics in your team? How can we look at that and how can we influence that? Of course, I have some creative suggestions and constructive suggestions that will not only work today, but are sustainable also in the future. A short summary on team building, and then I will have the conversation with Mariana, and I'm very much looking forward to that. So, my name is Silva Vicino. I'm a happy hard worker, international leadership facilitator, and I work for many companies. I see happy people at work and I see less happy people at work, and I'm so happy that I can share with the Cadan community a few items that I think is good to focus on, whether you are an employer or an employee, a manager or working for HR. I think it's good to always have this attention to it, to the teams and the people working for the company and actually delivering the product or service to the customers. Now, team building, why? The biggest thing in team building that you often hear, or that people in a team really want to have, is actually trust. but you cannot put a bunch of people together and say, okay, now work together and trust each other. Trust is something that needs to be built. So that's why it's very important to allocate really time to team, so that the team has the chance to get to know each other better. And it's really a strong, fundamental necessity. Like when you build a house, a building, that's why I like to make that example, you first need to dig into it to get the concrete where the building is actually standing on. And that, I think, trust is to a team. So we need to dig into it first before we can actually create trust among people. Now, a fundamental principle when you talk about team building, and you might have heard this before, is 1 + 1 = 3. What does it mean? When you are together with more than one person, I always say, one thing is certain, together we know much more than all of us here alone. And ideas, for me, can be built on. You know, so Edison, he found the light, but I think he never thought about having a standard to put the light on, or a cover for the light. That all came much later, after his first invention. So when people are working together, ideas are getting better, richer, and we can support each other. So if you involve more than one person and a team is working well, you can actually achieve results that none of us could have achieved alone. So that's what it means if I say 1 + 1 = 3. It's finding a new solution that nobody could have done alone. Now, after this time, the last few years, we spent a lot of time behind the screen. And if you have a screen in between, it is almost like a facial mask, where you cannot really breathe as good as without. So behind that screen, something gets stuck there. So the time to team up and meet the people and really get to know each other is very important. Because even if in the new situation we work a lot from home still, or hybrid, I think it's easier to reach out to a colleague for support or offer support only if you know that person. Because if you don't know that person, you don't dare to ask for support, and you don't know what kind of support to actually offer to make that person more productive, more happy at work. Behind the screen, there is little dynamic, because we are all stuck behind our own screen and focused on what we should be doing. While I think if you want to get to the optimum performance of a team, it is very important to put that group of people together. Because a team is continuously changing. It happens, of course, in these 5 stages when we form a team. And this forming phase happens every time somebody in the team is either leaving or gets a different position or becomes the manager of the team. Something is shifting in the team and the dynamics will actually change. Now, as soon as we have formed a new team, we are all trying to find our own role in the team. It happens after some time. In the beginning, everything is not normal. And after some time, you are going to find your normal. So we are getting comfortable because we are used to this. We're getting to work every day. And we are also showing a little bit more of ourselves. Now, and when that happens, there is always the phase of storming. It happens. Sooner or later it happens. And it often comes from disappointment, expectations, or failure, insecurities of people, but also things that we haven't discussed together. So we think, and we spoke about that in the first webinar, if I'm correct, that it's normal what we are doing, but for another person who has a different normal, it is not so normal. So that's when the storming is actually happening. And it's important then to give space to ventilation, for people to speak up, speak out, and then they can together look for a new norm. So what do we do in our team? What is normal to our team? And how do we make sure that our team is working in a way that we can all adapt to and where we all feel trust, we feel safe, and we understand each other, and we have our own set of standards and values in the team that we think and consider to be important. Only after that happens, people will perform better. Because in that storming phase is quite important to me, is that rubbing sometimes gives really shine. I always take the example of polishing your shoe. So you need to rub it a little bit, but then it will shine. And the same is when people get to know each other better, and there is a little bit of friction, you get to know each other a little bit better, you can consider your team much better, and you can work much better together as a team because you know each other and you know what to consider in your colleagues. Now, I already said in the beginning, I would like to tell you today some constructive suggestions. If we are talking about building a team, team building is not something that you do, let's go out and we make an hour of fun together. Building a team is something that you should continuously be aware of. And if you build a team, it's like building a building, it also needs maintenance. Now, maintenance in a team, the biggest requirement is really allocating time, team time, together and allowing people to get out of the workplace and not focusing on the product, but much more on production capability and see how can we contribute to each other. And that will only happen if you allocate special time for the team and to work only on team activities and team improvement. Now, I already said this in the beginning, there are I's in a team. There is this sentence, there are no I's in a team and together everyone achieves more. The second one I really agree with, but the first one I don't. Because we do have individuals in the team. And it is important to appreciate them on an individual level and then to see how you can make it work in a team and how you can make it work better as a team to get the most out of each individual in the team and make them key players of the team. And in that you also need to consider the individual production capability, which can be different every day and it can be different from person to person. So look at the individuals in your team. A very important one, and it's so logical and still it doesn't always happen, is listen to your people. Just listen with empathy. Try to understand what they are going through. Try to connect to them rather than just sending or projecting, as we discussed already. How do you connect to people? When I was young, my mother always told me, you need to learn to listen. And I think many of you heard the same. But I'm always saying my mom should have taught me something else, and that is listen with the intention to actually learn something about other people. It changes your whole way of listening to people, and that's where you really connect. So again, whether you are a manager, an employee, the employer, or the CEO of a company, try to listen to your people. Don't only send to them and project to them what you want of them. Listen first, and then you will find a connection, and they will hear you better too. So again, this goes for teams and every individual working for your company. Make people priority and give them a chance to meet each other. Now, what you want to accomplish in your team, in your company, is really synergy, that 1 + 1 is 3. And I like this example a lot because people think it's a bit of a difficult concept to grasp, synergy. And that's why I often give the example of an orchestra who are making a symphony together. They all have their own talents, their own knowledge, their own skills, and they studied their own instrument, which sounds great as an individual instrument, but if you put them together with other instruments, you can create a sound that none of them could create alone. And it gives energy when you do that, and when it all works. So synergy is also something that you really feel. Synergy is much more than just cooperating. Synergy is giving energy, is high-fiving at the end of a task because you did it together. Everybody in the team is heard, everybody is valuable, and everybody has an own talent to create a sound together. Now, in all the other webinars that we already did, I showed you this model, and I thought it was nice to have at least one model that goes really in all 4 of the topics. So keep an eye on the signs, keep an eye on the signals. I cannot stretch this enough. Recognize signs and take team time if you see that we are going out of the green. So green is a happy team, everything is working well, and they need guidance, they need support, but it's just very different, and it can change if you don't do enough maintenance on the building of your team. Just like with a real building, also this building of the team needs maintenance. You cannot just put a bunch of people together and say, okay, let's trust each other and let's do a great job together. It's something that grows and is something that needs time. But mainly, you need to be aware of the signs, aware of the happiness level of each individual in the team. And in all 3 areas, there is different support, different guidance. But please do so before people are completely unhappy or actually fall out, because it takes so much time to get them back in. And then the whole dynamic process of forming this team to performing starts all over again, as I just showed. So recognize the signs and act in time. Do that maintenance, because that's really the way to keep a team great and actually maybe even to exceed what you expect from them. So to summarize today's session, the last session, is dedicate time to team, showing trust supports growing trust. So that's really a message to managers and company leaders. If you trust your people, you will actually grow trust. Invest time with the team so they can get to know each other. And how do you facilitate that? Are there ways for people to offer support to each other? How do you facilitate time to learn how to trust each other, and how do they interact together? Is that just on the job, or do you also do things outside of the work together? Do we dedicate enough time to the team? Be aware of the dynamics in your team. Where are we in those dynamics? They change often. They could change from day to day, but certainly team dynamics change if people in the team are changing role, or they leave the team or the company. Something will change in your team, and by having attention to that and giving the right guidance and support, you will really be there in that process, ready to support. Because a team is like a river, and it never runs the same way twice. And that's also a small important message that I think, whether you are an employer or employee, something to be aware about. It was Heraclitus who said, you cannot step in the same river twice, because the second time you have experience, you've been in the river already, but also the river flows different. So there are different fishes, different plants in the river. Now, and that also goes for teams. Sometimes you have a great conversation, you leave the room just to go to get a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. You come back into the room with a great joke, but you feel it's the wrong one. And that is because something was discussed during your absence. So the dynamic changed. Be aware of that. And listen to your people. A team consists of a group of individuals and they all want to be heard. So, do we offer personal support to the right level? Are we able to identify proper doubts? I explained these words. Do we have professional doubts or personal doubts influencing our daily job? And compatibility issues. Do you actually look at those? I mean, people are not machines, so are they really compatible? Can they work together? Is there an eye for the energy transition between people in your team? Now, synergy, which I think is the highest form of cooperation, creative cooperation. So how do we benefit from the team knowledge? And how do we make this cooperation more than just working together, but really inspire them to get more and to add to each other, to support each other and give each other strength? Do we allocate enough time and focus to team development, shared activities? And are we actually looking for synergy? Looking for synergy is again production capability, so it has nothing to do with focusing on your product. It is really getting the most out of your team in a completely new way, and that is the way that your team can actually exceed all the expectations that you ever had on them.
Sylvie, wonderful presentation again. As I look back into all the presentations we've had before, all the different topics we discussed, this is really a nice way of tying a lot of pieces together, because it all comes back to, again, the team, but it's also about people being happy and satisfied at work. How do you know that? When do you need to take action? Do you have enough activities for your team? And how can you create those activities? And how do you get everybody's voice included in the conversation? Especially with very international teams or teams trying to expand really quickly, you have a lot of changes to adapt to. And I think that's also with nice challenges. And I think our guest speaker now, Mariana, she's really going to tell her story, and it's really an interesting one because she's also launching her own company. Growing really fast, international team. So I'm sure she's going to have a lot to share with us. So yes, thank you very much. We're going to move into the second part of our program with Mariana.
Looking forward. So, Mariana Silva from PlantWizard.
Yes.
That name sounds so interesting to me. Tell me a little bit about you.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for the invitation. I was looking forward to the discussion with you, because indeed our company has been growing, and it's mostly due to the team. So yeah, it's a topic very close to us, and we try really hard to create also a team that is happy in doing what we are doing. So yeah, I'm the CEO and a co-founder of PlantWizard, and I'm a biologist as background, and more recently I've been trying to combine my studies with my passion for tech and entrepreneurship, and that's how PlantWizard was born. Yeah.
And tell me a little bit more about the activities that PlantWizard are trying to do or achieve together with your team.
Sure. So we are trying to boost the digital innovation of the indoor plant market. So translating this into shorter words, we want to bring nature inside people's houses by helping the plant stores to sell more plants, to have an online presence. So we help with the promotion. We developed a web tool where we match you with your ideal plant. So when you go to the plant store, you already know which plant you should buy and how to take care. So yeah, we are trying to develop something that it's easy, that it's fun, that people like to do. People connect also with our brand as PlantWizard. And yeah, we're trying to have impact in bringing a bit of green inside everyone's houses. Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. Also related to the earlier topics in this series of webinars, actually, because I think plants also give oxygen.
Yeah,
So good working climate, let's
Yeah.
say. But what are your current challenges with the team? Do you have challenges or success stories?
Well, there's always challenges in a team. We are also a team that works remotely, so we are all over the world. And although it's nice because it's great when you have diversity in your team, and I guess that's a topic nowadays. A lot of people are more aware how great it is to have a diverse team in terms not just culture but also study fields, because then you also learn more. Yeah. But with that also comes challenges when you have to work with people with different languages, different culture, different time zones. You know, sometimes even just to set up a meeting, you need to find a place that suits everyone, that it's not 3 a.m. for anyone of the team. But so far, and I think our growth was really due to this diversity and to have people with different perspectives, people with different points of view in terms of business, but also in terms of what we are doing and how we can be better, how we can build this together.
Yeah, but that sounds like there's a great fundament for indeed synergy. People with different cultural backgrounds, but also different studies. You have the same goal, but you can all add to the equation, right?
Yeah. I think in a way that's exactly it, and that's also one of the great aspects of team building activities itself, is that they show why someone has a role and why this person is working with you, why you are building this mission together. And it's really important sometimes that you remember why we even started, right?
Exactly.
And so it's great that you can have moments with your team where you not just work, but also where you have space to know beyond the working role, that you know the person, you know the expectations. And that's also a challenge for a team, that you must align company at least that's what I believe. Yeah. But I think you should align the company expectations in terms of goals, sales, or so forth, but you should also align with the expectations of the person itself. And maybe find out that what one person has to offer is what another worker wants to learn. And that's great when you see how people can learn from each other. Or sometimes you want to travel to the home country of another colleague and you just ask for tips. And we see that a lot in our team, which is also, it's nice. So despite the challenges, I would say everyone is into this first because they believe in it. And despite the diversity, they all can see beyond that. And they try to also learn a lot. And I think that's also what keeps us moving, is that everyone is just learning a lot, not just with the company, but with each other.
Nice, nice. But you tell that they are really geographically far apart. Yeah. So I could see it already a big challenge if you want to bring the team together.
Yes.
Did you already succeed in that, in bringing them physically all together in the same place?
So this summer was, and has been a role since, so we became a company quite recently in March.
Yeah.
But it was always one of my key goals to put the team in the same place at the same time, exactly because, like you were saying, we need to see the person beyond the screen. And although I try to do that, as you know, trying to manage the team, I do just informal calls and I text, how's your day going? Can I also help in something? And I always ask their opinion. I never want them to feel that I'm the one setting up the goals, the rules. I want them to, we are all at the same level. And it was really a goal to put everyone together. So in the summer, in June, we decided, okay, let's all go to Portugal, my home country.
Nice, yeah.
So it's easier also for me to, set up things. And although not 100% of the team could be there, people from the US was even quite hard, but still we managed to meet half of the team, so it was already good in Portugal. And we now also, every time I travel, I also try to visit if I'm nearby someone of my team. And what I really highlight is that I try to keep in contact. Mm-hmm. Even if I cannot physically be there, I also don't want them to feel that I just see them on the screen. No, I really want to talk a bit more beyond work. know also if there's a way that we can meet sometime soon, even if not the whole team. But yeah, remote work has some challenges.
It has some challenges.
has
Yeah.
some
Do you also see that after you met, okay, not the whole team was there, there were still some problems. We are still a bit in the end, it's a bit challenging. But do you really notice that something changed after a personal meeting in the team?
I think, and there was also a moment that we were in a competition. It was our first competition here in Wageningen, where also a lot of members made it. And I think there was when I saw that, they could relate more. Maybe they could also see, oh, that's why also this person is with us. I think that's a good reminder that when you talk and you remember, oh, this person has this role, and we need this person in our team. So it's great. And the more you talk in topics also beyond work, you realize, oh, we have something in common. That's so nice. And I think that next time in the meeting, the environment is way more relaxed and people are already, even the jokes, you feel more free to do jokes and you feel more integrated. So
exactly. So the level of fun is also easier together after you get to know each other a little bit better.
Yeah.
So, are there any plans to get the full team together?
Yes, there are, and we are here in this incubator, our Start Hub, and we already asked them also some tips of how can we do a team building, and it's a topic we're always in our drive, just putting notes of what they want to learn. But that's it. So I also want to highlight that you don't really need a whole day out sometimes, because I feel like some companies wait too long to do activities.
Exactly.
Sometimes you just need to organize, let's have all coffee at the same time. Let's all connect in the same virtual room at the same time to just talk. And those small things already feel like, okay, there's a room, there's a space where we can talk, even if virtually.
No, but I really agree with you. I think that if you are in your company, in the situation where you are geographically really located far from each other, I think that we can do a lot, even if there is a screen in between. And what I really like about your answer just now is we don't have to take a whole day.
No, people sometimes put so much pressure in doing, oh, we need to organize, and then they keep on delaying. And sometimes you just need to go out, go to the coffee next door, or just organize some games.
Exactly, or ask the right questions. I always say that I also organize speed dates with your colleagues, for instance, which you could do perfectly online. Yeah. And if you then ask really the right questions and you listen to each other 3 minutes, it can be so revealing. Yeah. And that for me is also a great way to create team trust. If you ask questions, direct, targeted questions that have nothing to do with work. What's your favorite food? Exactly. What did you dream about as a child? Your hobby.
Knowing the person beyond.
Knowing the person. Yeah.
I totally agree with you. Yes.
Yeah.
That's super needed. Because, if you also can see that you can learn more than what you expect, you also feel even more enthusiastic about what you're doing.
Exactly, and you feel more understood.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting, and I think it's something that comes a lot to me, because I already faced it, but I think most people, when they even leave a company or when they leave a job, they don't leave it mostly for the payment or the role, they leave it because of the culture. They leave because they don't feel understood. Even myself, my previous job, I left because of that. I had I just didn't feel integrated. Yeah. So I felt like maybe I should, and I'm super happy. I returned to Wageningen, and that was also, I think we are in the right place. The city of plants, so it makes a whole sense. Yeah, but I feel like it's also sad when someone leaves a company, even though they like what they're doing, just because of culture, just because they don't have someone asking them what you want to learn, how are you doing, what is your hobbies?
Yeah, that's the compatibility issue that I discussed also during the webinar. I think that's a challenge for employers, CEOs, HR departments to not overlook that part. What do we actually need in the team to form a good team? Allow them to time to make things normal, but also to do a little storming. And how can we then grow this team creative synergy
Yeah.
and actually do better than we expected in the first place. So, if you talk about teams, what for you are key things that we should do, company, employers, to keep a happy team?
To keep a happy team, well, it's hard to know also sometimes if your employee is happy or not, and that's why I think you need to have these moments outside work or just informal. Let's grab coffee together. Let's have lunch together tomorrow. Especially if you're a small company, this is more possible. Of course, if the company increases, it might be harder, but you should not just stop doing it because of that. But I think the key, at least for my personal experience, and I'm a young entrepreneur, so, but for my personal experience, you should hire people that are driven by mission. For example, even myself, I did volunteer for many years, and I know what it is to work beyond money. I know what it is to work because I have a mission to just be part of this and to help and to contribute somehow, do more than just my normal job. And I can say that everyone in the team, if they are in the team, it's because they also see more beyond that. They really believe in what we are building. And so far has been everyone that has been joining. We have recently a new person in our team. And I remember I was talking with Jeff, also in the US, and I just told him, no, I met this girl. I was in a crowdfunding workshop in Italy. And I said, I talked about PlantWizard with this girl. She was so into it. And he said, just grab her. If she's into it and she understands your mission, talk to her.
Yeah.
And she's now in the team. So,
yeah, beautiful. So more than a mission, it's actually, they all feel the purpose as well, and the meaning of what they are doing, and that's what they share.
Yeah. I think nowadays, and especially the youngest generations, we need more than just what our our parents used to have. We need this sense that we belong, that we are building something. Otherwise, it's hard to keep. It's hard to keep someone in your team if there's no sense for a mission. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much for this talk. And it's funny to see how we end where we started this series of webinars, having a good team, happy people in the right place. But I think you will achieve that if you have a purpose, and the team also knows the purpose and the mission. Yeah. And you guide them well, stay in touch, know your people, and allow time to team. Beautiful. I wish you all the success.
Thank you so much. Thank you again.
And thank you for coming here.
Yeah, I appreciate it a lot. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your very lively and insightful conversation, Silvia and Mariana. I think it was really great. There was a great synergy between the two of you, I have to say. So that was really nice to see. And I have a question, Mariana, because before I heard you talking to Sylvie something about plants and productivity, and I just want to ask you one more time what this means, because we had a whole session on productivity, so maybe you have something to add to the conversation.
Well, sure. Indeed, there's a lot of studies, and also here at Wagner, there's some groups just focus on that, how plants can increase productivity of your team. You can check for studies where they have offices with and without plants, and you see happiness, productivity, creativity levels increasing in offices with plants. As you can see, we have plants all over the place, and I think they really boost. They make you happier. Greener is always the way, I would say, for productivity. Yeah. Okay,
I think this is a perfect answer and a really nice way to just wrap up our webinars. So this is the very last one so far, and we're looking forward to the next series. We're going to take maybe some time to prepare that, but it's been a really great series of our webinars. We talked so many different topics, really nice conversations with everybody. I'd like to remind our audience that if you have any questions for Mariana, but also for Sylvie, and to learn more about what Workjoy is doing with companies, feel free to contact us. Our contact details are going to be in the comments of the videos. You can always reach out to Sylvia and to Mariana if you have some tips, if you would like to know something. You can find the recording to all of our webinars on our YouTube channel. We're also going to be sharing more content on our Cadence community platform. You can engage in conversation with members. You can discuss this topic, for example, if you have any ideas about team building or productivity or health management, for example, feel free to ask them also and just get the conversation started. Start ventilating about what you see and make it into something normal, right? So
Exactly.
go over that and just really integrate with your team, make the best out of your time with a company. So that's basically the goal that we have achieved so far with our sessions. Everybody, thank you again for watching, and until next time. Thank you,
And
Mariana.
Thank you.
Thank you.